Taylor Swift has now been put in the position where she is being forced to consider suing over the fact that sexually explicit deepfake images of her flooded social media over the last 2 days. One image alone was viewed over 45 million times before the account that posted it was suspended. And according to a source close to Swift, here is what they are thinking about the damage that's been done by these images and what they're considering doing. Whether or not legal action will be taken is being decided, but there's one thing that's clear. These fake AI-generated images are abusive, offensive, exploitative, and done without Taylor's consent and or knowledge. The Twitter account that posted them does not exist anymore. It is shocking that the social media platform even let them be up to begin with. These images must be removed from everywhere they exist and should not be promoted by anyone. Taylor's circle of family and friends are furious, as are her fans, obviously. They have the right to be, and every woman should be. The door needs to be shut on this. Legislation needs to be passed to prevent this, and laws must be enacted. And obviously, the Swifties came and did what they could to defend her on social media, but they're not in charge of these accounts, so it's difficult until they're finally begrudgingly taken down. And bear in mind that while she has a big source of, like support that'll go there, her fans, there are also a ton of people who now absolutely despise her because something NFL, and she told people to register to vote. So they're enthusiastically spreading this stuff because how dare a woman actually stick her nose up when it comes to politics? So they're trying to destroy her and drive her off of social media. And it's Twitter now. So it was already kind of the Wild West. Now there's basically no protections whatsoever. So those images are being shared, not just by accounts, but by the confirmed accounts or whatever. So they're receiving all of that boost. So that's a lot of fun. Brett, what do you make of this? It's sort of what we've been predicting would happen.
Yeah, I read earlier that they were circulating on Twitter for 9 hours or something like that. And then Twitter stepped in and kind of changed their overall policy. And I read that on The Guardian or something. So I don't know where it is now. Guarantee you that you could probably, if you have a weird enough search term, you could find them. This is exactly like there's two conversations. There's like the legal conversation that you actually have to do the math as to what is illegal and what is not, what is legal. If I do a Taylor Swift pornography and I call it like mailer grift, and it's someone who looks exactly like her, that was like the bread and butter of the Sarah Palin era. Where they would have like a fake one based on it, or like Lawrence of Arabia. Like you would do some kind of parody, right? But it was obviously not Taylor Swift. If I were to make up fake images of Taylor Swift robbing a bank and circulated it as though Taylor Swift robbed a bank, that is defamation or libel or whatever. Libel. So I'm fascinated to see where the courts actually do come down on this, but I think it's probably going to turn into like, these people are, it's going to end up being some kind of IP law. And Taylor Swift has, not ironically, Taylor Swift has been at the center of that before when it comes to royalties. It's just, there's going to be chapters, if they're not already, in a lot of like legal and financial and business textbooks about how Taylor Swift single-handedly was able to get laws on the books that protect individuals against weird stuff that bad actors do to make money, gain notoriety, or in this case, appeal to the prurient interest.
Yeah, I think, I think this feels a little bit like the Ticketmaster thing, in that you have this area where clearly something needs to be done. We have no faith in the system, but maybe Taylor can do it. She's the biggest star in the world, so maybe she can get it done. So there's a little bit of hope that's sort of invested in it, and maybe they can do some sort of law. There are some state level laws that have to do with deepfakes that theoretically could get restitution for people who've been victims of this. Or maybe if there's places that are refusing to take it down, it can force them to be taken down. But realistically, the sort of thing that happened yesterday, I don't know how you protect against that. Now, yes, Twitter could have taken it down a hell of a lot faster than over the course of 9 hours, but it's Twitter. I don't have any expectations for them. The big issue is now, I think in the New York Times, they talked about the sort of stable diffusion thing that they think was used to make these is used in something like 100,000 apps and or websites. So good luck in shutting them all down. You combine the fact that all of this is able to be done, and you have, a growing base of right-wing incels who have nothing but time on their hands, time and anger and flaccid rage and lust for women. So you combine those two things and they're gonna produce images like this. There have been attempts to drive women off of social media before. They've done it to Leslie Jones, they've done it to, like Rose Tico from Star Wars and everything. They're always gonna do stuff like that. But now it is gonna be even more explicitly sexual than it's been in the past. And so we need legislation, but we also need a cultural fix to this. And I don't have the solution for it, Brett, unfortunately. But what do you think?
Yeah, I don't. Yeah, I in this scenario, like it's fascinating, right? I know there's a lot of people who think Taylor Swift doesn't have a leg to stand on in this legal argument, but most of them are people who, before this legal argument arose, were like, I hate Taylor Swift. So it's like anyone can make a good argument, the same way like a monkey banging away at a keyboard for 1,000,000 years is going to write Shakespeare. And I will read that Shakespeare, but I just don't think that like the average person who is not defending Taylor Swift and thinks that she has no legal leg to stand on, I think that kind of person's horrible and probably not a genuine actor in all of this. I think the final discussion is going to come down around like IP law and like whether you can make money off of it. And I think there will be some kind of revenge porn law that applies to this at large. And it's going to take some stuff that I don't typically agree with, which is like big names swinging their power around to get it to stop. But I do think at the end of the day, like there's just something weird about it, something bad about it, where like you should not be able to make money off of this in a way that feels this cheaty. Like when it comes to AI, like when you're using AI to make like the George Carlin thing, there was a big George Carlin special that they made. Like it's interesting if it's like presented in a way where it's like, can we do this? Oh my God, it's like that. That's a good context. Yes, we can pull off bringing people back from the dead. But if you're like selling your work like it's awesome and all you did was like just run a program like that, it just feels worse. And I think that feeling, if you decode it correctly, you'll get to some kind of legal framework for how you should write the law to keep the bad part of it from happening and hurting people. And that's probably just going to be like a share of the royalties.
The money aspect for this, I don't know. I do know that, he set up his thing where right-wing edgelords or whatever meme makers were getting paid for, I don't know, making anti-Semitic memes or something like that. Is it inconceivable that some of those accounts were sharing this stuff and could actually have made money off of it? I don't know.
Well, like, yeah, like the example is Stay With Me.
Final comment.
Right, so there's the Stay With Me, the Robin Thicke, the songs where like, listen, the human brain does a version of this where we like read a bunch of stuff, experience a bunch of stuff, and then feel like we're coming up with our own thoughts. And some of it is just because of our own personal experience mixed with our study, and then subconsciously you just kind of recreate it. That's kind of what these models do. Yeah. But if what you create is that substantially like a pre-existing bit of intellectual property, then you're going to have to pay the royalties that Sam Smith had to pay when it turned out that Stay With Me is the same as Won't Back Down by Tom Petty. And the basic preamble to Hey, that one song is Robin Thicke having to pay the Marvin Gaye estate for kind of taking from him creatively.